Welcome to Week in Review. It's an honor to be able to serve you. We're going to look back a little over the past weeks, and it has been a very newsworthy time. You know, in the Old Testament, God with his people would call them to alert and awaken when it was a time of battle, and he used the shofar. That's what this is. And they would blow the shofar, and it was a way to just say, it's time to stand at attention and get involved. I believe that's what God's doing today. No more sitting on the sidelines, no more silence, no more fear of man, no more cowardice. God's stirring pastors and people. Now I want to put on the screen a scripture, and this is really what I believe God is saying to us. And as we review some things here, I want you to take this verse and this passage to heart. In Psalm 98, it tells us this: "Who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will stand up for me against those who do iniquity?" And then he goes on to say, "Shall wicked rulers who make oppressive laws align with you? They conspire together against the life of the righteous and condemn innocent blood to death. But the Lord is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge. He shall bring upon them their own iniquity and shall cut them out for their own wickedness." Now, those are sobering words, but I believe that's what's happening today. Let me give you some examples reviewing the week. Number one, the Olympics are over. But in the Olympics, we had an unbelievable, embarrassing defeat, the women's soccer team. I mean, they're the ones with the champions, very outspoken, social activists. You know, Megan Rapinoe, oh man, with her hair dyed, lesbianism, progressive left, radicalism, using profanity, mocking this country, aligning with Colin Kaepernick in terms of we don't stand and respect the flag and everything. Well, what happened to them? Because of their wokeness and their focus on that, they were embarrassed. And they lost once, and then they lost to Canada, and it was a total embarrassment. And you know what? The interesting thing was, at the same time, there was a Christian woman, a 28-year-old, maybe you saw, Tamira Mensah, and she went to a Christian university, and she was a women's wrestler, and she won her match, and boy, what was her response? And America rose to this because she wrapped the flag around herself. She talked of God. She said that, by the grace of God, I was able to do this. She honored her dad, her parents, her husband. She said, "I love the USA." Well, I think it's interesting now that the Olympics are over and the ratings are in. What do we see? We see that from 2016, this year's Olympics were down, they plummeted, cratered 49% less. Drop off, almost 50%. And the opening ceremony, the tragedy was it was the lowest in 28 years. And they interviewed people, and what did they say was a primary reason? People didn't like these defiant, rebellious protesters. That and COVID. So I believe people are really recognizing and starting to say there's pushback. We're not going to just stand around and listen as LeBron James is saying, yeah, we should be able to protest on the platform, and Megan, with her progressiveness. No, we identify with those that are really respectful of our nation. Another thing that's happening right now, and this is a serious one, is with all that going on with COVID, and is there, another surge, and we see some very dangerous times. Well, we're also hearing from people like Don Lemon, and we're also hearing from Mayor de Blasio of New York, and then Stephen Jobs' widow, and they're making public statements that those people that refuse the shot and vaccination, you know what they're saying? They should be fired, lose their income and their benefits and retirement. They should be banned from grocery stores. They should be refused restaurant entrance, gymnasiums, entertainment, expelled from schools, put in no-fly lists. I mean, this is chilling what we're seeing right now. And I want to encourage you, Liberty Counsel. I'm a public policy advisor with them. And if you need informed information, I encourage you to look to Liberty Counsel and Matt Staver, a friend of mine and a tremendous leader. What else is going on when we review the week? Well, here's a biggie. Something that is almost unbelievable. We have the two largest states, New York and California, and both of the governors are ready to be booted out of office. That would have seemed impossible. Remember when the media and everybody was touting them? They're presidential. They could be the next president, you know? Well, but take a look at them. First of all, with Governor Newsom. My friend Cheon, who I've known for about 45 years, took that man to the Supreme Court, and he won. Why? Because Governor Newsom put down all kinds of restrictions, and he said, you can't have these houses of worship, people gathering, etc. And even though there was respect and everything among pastors, businesses and churches were closed. And what did we see? Well, Governor Newsom said it's okay to have abortion clinics open and liquor stores and marijuana dispensaries. Well, this man is now, who was former mayor of San Francisco, he's on the ropes. And you're seeing a majority of the people saying we need to recall him and get him out of office. They're fed up with the crime in California. There's a man, he's a black Republican, Larry Elders, that's running now for the governor. And he's making the point. He's saying, look at the homelessness and the drugs and the liberal, laws that are put in effect and the high crime. Do you know that under Governor Newsom, they let out 20,000 felons out of prison? And they've instituted a proposition that says, look, if you commit a crime, a felony, you rob up to $950, you just get a ticket. So people that are drug addicts, well, how do they support their drugs? Well, you know what they do. They have to steal. So they steal, they get a ticket, and then they do it again the next day. Things are out of control and chaotic, and so people are saying Newsom needs to get out. Now, the same thing is happening in New York with Governor Cuomo. This was the man that, if you recall, he's going to be the president. He knows how to run a state. Look at how he's handling things with COVID. But all of a sudden, we see about 5,000 seniors that died because of an order that he gave, putting them back into the retirement homes and places. And then he celebrated abortion on demand right up until the birth, and was living with a woman in his governor's mansion. The whole state, children, everybody looking at it, he's living a fornication lifestyle. Well, things have been caving in. I want to put on the screen some quotes, and maybe you saw this, but this is what he said when there was the Supreme Court hearings with Mr. Kavanaugh. He said, Cuomo said, only a political skeptic could find a reason to disbelieve, that was disbelieve Christine Blasey Ford, who was accusing Kavanaugh, and yet was proven there was nothing there, to cheapen, to ridicule the pain a woman suffers from a sexual attack is disgusting, sexist and disgusting. To second guess how a woman should have acted after sexual attack is what? Sexist and disgusting. Well, that man that said it, now karma, or you reap what you sow, because over 11 women have come forth with serious allegations, and the majority are saying get him out. Even Pelosi and Biden are saying get this man out. This is just like when we prayed many years ago with Richard Nixon in the White House and Spiro Agnew, and we prayed and said, Lord, you raise up the righteous and remove the ungodly. And within a year and a half, we saw the removal, first time in history, of a vice president and a president. It's happening on our watch, and it's absolutely amazing to see what's happening. The last thing I want to point out is this. There is such hypocrisy going on with the Biden administration and the border. Now, you say, well, I don't hear much about it in the press. Well, that's because the press is invested in Mr. Biden and this administration. They don't want to report or emphasize news that would reflect negatively upon him. But Mr. Biden opened the doors with open borders. That was the first thing he did. Everything that Mr. Trump did that brought order, and it took him, 3 years to get things in order, was blasted. And everything was then going to be under review. And now it's open borders. Come on in. Young people are coming with their families, their relatives, they're getting money, they're being shipped all over the country. You say, well, is this major? Is this serious? You know how many are coming in? This is open borders. It's an avalanche. And we're talking of people that are criminals. Yes, some, not all, but we have those that are coming. They're not being tested. They're not getting any kind of COVID shots or vaccinations or anything. And they're being put in in buses, et cetera, and being shipped off to cities. You know, it's like, how many came in February? Do you know how many? 100,000. How many came in March? 100,000. How many came in April? 200,000. How many just came the last month of July? Over 200,000. It's like every month a city is being dumped into the country. And then what's happened is, with all of the distraction, don't you be fooled that, oh, they're being taken care of and processed. Oh yeah, you take a little name and then show up supposedly in 5-6 years. There's millions waiting. They're not going to return. They're not coming here for a vacation. They're not being sent back, no matter what you're hearing. And so we have a disaster on the border. And at the same time, we have Mr. Biden telling us we have to be strict in terms of COVID-19, and we have to have restrictions, and we've got to work together. We can't be opening doors for people that, don't get vaxxed or all the rest of that. And yet he's the one that is saying, come on in, free medical. These are serious issues, and they're taking place today. God is calling us to take a stand, to pray, to proclaim the truth, to be informed influencers so that we can influence people and let them know the truth in this hour. America is in a serious way. And even just with the border, look at this cartoon on this. It's like the Titanic. We can't just sit back and say, let the leftist radicals, progressives come. And you say, well, why do they let them in? Because when they come in, they're ignorant in terms of America's history. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know rule of law. They don't know our history. So they're malleable. They're easily persuaded. And they're also in a place where what? They can be easily propagandized. And then states like Arizona, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas could be flipped so that we could have liberal Democrats in office to rule this country. It's a serious time, and I'm calling you. Respond to God. He's asking people to rise, pray, proclaim truth, and be informed.